Welcome to another episode of OneLife. Here with our good-looking four gentlemen, not very knowledgeable boys.
Oh, thanks, bro.
Our topic of today is the power of business performance metrics: the good, the bad, the ugly. What can be too much measuring? What's not enough measuring? What to measure? Should we measure? So let's start with kind of what I like to do day to day. Is we use the past as a guide to say of what's happened, but it shouldn't dictate the future. Yeah. So what are some things that you guys like measuring about the past, and do you focus a lot on that, and how much do you focus on the future? Are there more metrics about the future that you're measuring? So someone jump in.
I can jump in if you like.
Yeah,
so I think with all of our clients these days at BetterCo, we start with the looking back, because that's something that we have to do. You know, the IRD, we have to report back on the past, you know. So that's something that we do every day with our clients. It's a necessity, it's boring, but it's something that has to be done, right? But what we are talking to a whole lot more is the future focus, you know. So we've developed products now in BetterCo where we're focusing on the future of people's businesses and our clients.
Yeah.
So, and I love talking to that every single day, because people know that we have to do the past, but it's more exciting to think about the future.
Yeah.
Is that been the problem of the industry there? Because accountants traditionally just look in the past and they don't look in the future.
A lot of them only look at the past, right? But if you're in commercial accounting, it's quite different. You're always reforecasting. You have a systems in place, and having budgets and proper forecast processes in place, right?
Yeah.
But if your sole job is to just do a set of accounts 8 months late for the RD, and make sure the tax man's are after you, you're not going to really pay more for anything else. I'd say. Yeah. And the unfortunate thing is there's not a lot of money going around small business owners. If you're a painter making $70,000 a year, the RD tells you got to pay this dude $2,000 a year to do a set of books that's 8 months late. Yeah. Pay the taxes up front. Cool, I don't go to jail. What's next?
So if we don't want to focus on the past, what are some simple metrics that help people to not forget about it, but are there metrics that people can be using to look at the past?
I think the past is important. Like you said, it's boring. It's a problem in our industry because most accountants have set up their business to look in the past. In fact, IRD gave them a job. But for me, it's reflection, education, and data. You need that data. You need to look back to be like, what picture can I paint in the future? So using what I already know. And then you're not making shit up, you know.
It's sort of like the starting point, right? You're trying to go for a race, but where do I start? Okay, last year's financials is the starting point. You draw a line, and you run forward and be like, okay, that's my goal for the North Star going forward, right? Sort of, and you set certain KPIs to achieve your certain goals.
Well, I think that's the thing we see all the time. Everyone's like, "Oh, how did I do last year?" And then that's the benchmark. Yeah. And all they're looking at is either revenue or profit. And then they're going, I want to do more revenue this year and more profit. Yeah. But what are the things that they should look at to increase that? What are they measuring?
Yeah, I think for looking back, and if I can just touch on that, because you said, some accounting firms, it's 8 or 9 months after balance date before they're actually getting some data. A lot of businesses out there don't know what taxes they've got to pay. So I think we do a bloody good job at BetterCo, blowing our own trumpet here a little bit, but we try and turn that around as quickly as we possibly can and be as efficient as we can. Because as you say, that starting point, if we know that starting point sooner, then we can plan ahead. So looking back, you know what taxes you're going to pay, all of that sort of stuff, and you know that as soon as possible. Of course, the next year may not be the same as the previous year, but at least it's a really good starting point. So I think we do a really good job in that regard. And is it a performance indicator? I don't know, but it's a metric that we use to try and turn around that work as quickly as we possibly can.
So the faster you get information, the faster you can make decisions.
I think it's no excuse now, though. The information's there. It's sitting
Zero's
in zero.
Changed the game. Yeah.
The only person that hasn't changed is the old companies that existed and haven't adapted and changed. IRD have not changed. They still have a prof tax system, which doesn't make any sense anymore. Yeah. When you have the data, why don't you use the data to make a decision to pay your tax in the future? Yeah. You get the whole, if you're talking a bit more technical, but if you looking back and you're trying to set your budget, your typical accountant will go, let's just average out the last 12 months. and then or multiply it for the future. But I think that's like a really shit, boring, crap metric. Like, don't do that. Like,
Because they're not actually
use some common sense.
Yeah, they're not actually putting any common sense into it or any actual results or anything.
So
They're
it's
just
like
no, they're not.
blanket 10% increase. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also like even when you're forecasting, right? You can go, oh, cool, we're 5 months in. Let's divide that value. Let's say it's 100 by 5 and times it by 12, and you think that's going to be acceptable as a forecast. It's not. Like, that's a bad metric.
I'd challenge you on that though, because how many businesses out there actually have any forecast? So,
you're
a
saying-
forecast is better than
Okay.
none.
Okay. So you're, well, yes and no.
Yeah, well, it's just a piece of shit.
Yeah,
You go out to 10 different business owners and
Yeah.
ask them who has a forecast. I can guarantee you maybe 1 or 2 would say yes.
Yeah.
If you're going to run blind, you might as well just run blind. There's no point using a shit metric.
Yeah,
Don't have one.
maybe.
Like, fuck it. Like,
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
carry on the way it works
Yeah.
for you. Like, don't try.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
If you're gonna use
especially
a
if you've
metric,
been
use a good
going for
one.
10 years or something, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, let's just do what we've always done.
You have a gut feel that works, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so then don't use an average.
But I can almost guarantee you that those businesses that have been going for 10 years would have some operational metrics that they're looking at
course.
that
Yes.
help them manage that business
In
really
their
well.
subconscious, even,
Yeah.
you know, that
Yeah.
they'll know if the business is humming or not.
Yeah.
It's
They'll-
like a cafe, right? Like if you say, okay, my weekly sales is going to be $20,000.
That's a metric.
Right.
Yeah.
If you go below $20,000, you know your GP for the food, you know your wage cost is all going to be the same, your rents stay the same.
Yeah.
If you don't hit your top line budget and umbrella, it's just going to fall apart.
Feel,
So
feel the energy in it. Just stop for a minute. Like, you fucking accountants, look at you. It's like,
Numbers games, spreadsheets.
it's quite good, actually. Carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, but you know, it's gut feel, right?
Yeah.
But that I would say, if you're lucky to survive, whatever happens that you get $5,000 a week for the next 4 weeks, what do you do?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
reforecast? Do you scroll away? Would you change your menu?
In hospitality, that's a great metric, like weekly revenue.
Yep.
And if you go and if most hospitality venues go and ask, if they go and ask their accountants go do a forecast, the accountant does not think weekly.
No,
They think monthly
daily.
and annually.
Or daily.
Yeah.
Or daily.
Yeah.
So that's the first mistake some accountant's going to make, right? But if you tell them I'm in hospitality and my weekly revenue is X, and that's the starting metric that you should
Correct.
use.
And it's always GST inclusive as well, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and
I was
it's
just thinking that too.
inclusive.
Yeah.
And so they've got a really clear metric. It's like, okay, what else? What other metrics do you have? It's like, okay, well, I know that I need a bare minimum of 4 people to run the floor.
Yes.
Like, cool. Okay, there's another thing that I must do as the accountant.
Yeah.
So there must be a whole bunch of different things businesses can measure and do use that they don't tell their accountants or they don't tell their advisors.
Of course.
And it helps them run their businesses. And I find those things quite cool because it means, like, I don't know them.
Yeah, but the better advisor will ask the questions, right? And they'll
Yeah.
flesh out that data from the people that are running these businesses. You know, so if the advisor or the accountant is not asking those questions, how can they have the data to start and how can they put a forecast in play because they don't know what they're going to be measuring?
Yeah.
And it's different across all industries. You know, we've just talked about hospitality, but then you've got retail as well, and you've got cost of goods sold and inventory and how much you're
Average
holding in
order
stock and all
volume
of that
and
sort of
things
stuff.
like- yeah.
So, and then you've got service industry. So across all of the different industries, there's different metrics that you'll measure.
Can we talk about how metrics or KPIs or OKRs, maybe we should talk about those later and what the difference is between those, but can we talk about how performance metrics, how that can improve a culture in a business and how it can also have a negative effect on culture in a business?
Well, I think the common mistakes I see is there's just too many KPIs. You know,
Right.
analysis paralysis, you say all the time, right?
Yeah.
You just give them so many things and your managers are blinded by the actual goal of the target, which is to grow the company or
Right.
have a healthy bottom
Yes.
line. So a lot of people tend to take it the wrong way and say, look, I want to track all these 10 things. But actually the main one thing is the most important. Like going back to hospitality again, you say my main goal is to raise sales, increase your weekly sales amount. You tell them all these other KPIs. I want the kitchen clean. I want the chairs stacked. I want the sun not shining. I want your blinds clean every single day. But what about the food costs? What about the wage costs? You know, there must be some sort of weighting around KPIs.
So too many KPIs is negative?
Yeah, and maybe just not emphasizing the weighting of certain KPIs to your managers.
Right. Yeah, I think that's an important one, right?
They say, okay,
yeah.
your sales is 80% weighting. You got to focus on that stuff. That is your
I think
bonus
as a
structure.
business owner, there's no like and if you gave me all of the data, I'd be stoked because like I couldn't kind of then figure
Yeah.
that out. But if you go and deliver all of that to the team, you could like really upset them, and
Oh,
this
you-
is where
of course,
you're driving.
You won't do that.
Well, people would without if you don't think about culture and go,
Well,
okay,
they
what is
shouldn't.
that?
Yeah.
Because how someone receives it as an employee or a person working in a business, any business, they'd go, what does that mean for me?
Of course.
Like, oh shit, sales are down. Oh, why are they measuring that? Like,
Yeah.
we always like thinking we're not worried about if you're in a job or not in a job. We're just like, how do we grow the business? Like,
Yes.
we understand that. So, if you're going to create a KPI, make sure it fits in with your culture and it breeds the right behaviors.
Oh, and it's through the team's control as well. Like, if our team don't do sales, they just do operational stuff. And we're the salespeople. They don't care about the sales KPI. It doesn't really
Yeah.
Yeah,
affect
you
them.
got to give it to the right person.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But yeah, and it's the same as like if you set someone a sales target and they're not sales driven, and then you go, and then they hit that number, and they go, oh, they'll feel demotivated, right? So you got to kind of get the right metric for the right person too.
Yeah, can demotivate people.
Yeah, so that's important. Like, yeah, I love data. Like, you should have as much as you can in terms of metrics.
I like
Or
what you
like
talk about in
reporting.
terms of weighting. So the first bad thing is that there's too many KPIs, but the second thing you talked about is if there's not enough weighting given to a certain KPI, then it causes people to focus on the wrong thing. And the reason I like the weighting is because, like you said, if it's 80% and there's 9 other things, so that means 20% over 9 things. What's the point of measuring those 9 things?
Of course.
Because
Yeah.
there's time that gets taken into measuring, right? So administration time or even just brain space. Just don't measure it.
Yeah.
It's almost easier.
Say it takes an hour for the most important thing, 8 hours, but it takes 9 hours for the rest.
Yeah, what's the point?
Don't worry about
Don't
it.
do
Yeah,
that.
and this
Yeah.
is funny when you have like layers of people, right? Because the business owner's not in it, and then you got people preparing it, and then they're just spending all this time preparing data, not understanding what the meaning of that data
that's
is.
right.
So, like, actually, I mean, if I was in a business, I would go, do you actually want this, or why do you want it? So then I can go and prepare it for you. And
Yeah.
what decision you're going to make off the back of it?
Yes,
Because
yes.
it's pointless. Like, you can report. I see this all the time. Like, accountants, oh, your GP's X. What the fuck does it mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what does a GP percentage mean to a person in their business? Like,
Yeah.
Probably not much.
Yeah,
Not-
I mean,
yeah,
it's
not
the reason
without
everyone
any-
does it. It's because you just divide 2 numbers by each other and it's done.
Yeah, like that's the one that gets me a lot. It's like, do you actually understand that number?
Yes.
Like, yeah, but it's the accountant's trick for some reason. And then it's like, oh, we got to improve your GP. It's like, okay. what
Okay,
is
if
that?
it's
Why?
not GP, what's a good monthly measurement for a business to be looking at in terms of their P&L?
This is a real simple one. Cash in bank.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
You know, so how much cash have you actually got in the bank?
As a
Com-
metric,
compared
like setting
to-
like a minimum or
Yeah, or compared to the previous week.
How do you measure that?
what are you measuring though?
What am I measuring? So
Yeah.
I'm measuring the cash flow over a certain period of time. So say it's a hospitality business on a weekly basis. Is that static? Or are you running against, are you going into overdraft? You know, so that's like simple and basic. But if there's no money in the bank and it's going down over a period of time, there may be problems there that you need to ask
Yeah,
the
I
question.
like that because being an accountant, like we have to look at balance sheets, right? And then in the balance sheet's just one day. It just takes a snapshot of one day, and we're like, when we get the report or one of our team prepare it, and I see it, and I'm like, oh yeah, they got money in the bank, but it's not totally true. So there's this other dashboard that we use that gives us for each month, it gives us the bottom amount of the month of what the bank balance was. So say if it was $2, and it gives you the maximum, and there's a graph that goes up, and it's got a dot on the maximum. Say the maximum was 170,
Yes.
and then it tells you what the average was during the month. So you can see if it goes into $2 and it's like does that again and again and again, I'm like, how's this guy sleeping?
Yeah.
You know? So that's where I would come in and go, all right, we need an overdraft, make it like 40 grand or something, or 4 or 5 or 10 grand or whatever, just so you're not like on the bottom, you know, and just stressing out about it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, and we don't want to talk too much Accountanese today, do we? We want to try and keep it pretty simple for the people out there. But it's, you know, what makes up the profit and the income showing on the P&L for the business, right? And is some of that money tied up in money that people owe you? You know, you may have made all of these sales, but people aren't paying you.
Yes.
You know, so on paper you're doing really well, but the money's not coming into the bank. You know, and
So
the other
for
one
accounting is that's what, debtor days?
Debtor days.
yeah,
Debtor
accounts
days.
receivable.
Yeah, so that links
yeah.
to your cash and bank.
Yeah. People that owe you money. Makes it simple. And the other one is stock on hand if you're a retail business, right? So if you've got all of your money tied up in stock, you might still be showing that you're quite profitable, but you've got all of this stock that's not selling. You know, so those are probably two simple areas where a business may be showing that they're doing very well, but the cash is not there.
And what if they had too much stock? What would you say to them?
Well, it depends on how long it's been around. You can probably answer that question, mate. You're the expert.
No, well,
For me, it would just be, if it's slow-moving stock, would you run a sale just to get rid of some of that old stock, you know?
That's
Well, I've
usually
just
holding
brought
costs.
up, like
That's
what
right.
you've talked about is what I constantly talk about with clients is that cash conversion cycle. Like how long does it take you to turn your cash back into cash?
Yeah.
So like moving from okay, it existed as cash and then we bought some stuff and we've got bills to pay and then it's stock and then okay, we've sold that and it's now become a debtor and like how long do they take to pay? So you add all those up and then it gives you like say 150 days to get your money back and it's like what? You know that so cash conversion cycle should be something that almost every business should know. It's harder in some industries for sure, especially if you don't have stock or whatnot. But I would challenge that almost every business should be able to figure out what their cash conversion cycle is.
Yep.
So important.
Yeah, good. Turn
like-
that stock around.
I'll give you a quick example of a couple of easy wins that we use for clients all the time is debtor days. So we will take, if somebody is billing at the end of the month and then 20th of the following is the due date, we just say make it 7 days. That shortens your cash conversion cycle by 13 days. And people are like, and? I'm like, you just got your money 13 days earlier.
Yeah.
Does that not make you happy?
Yeah,
and then you add one step to that and make sure it's a direct debit or some form of easy way to be paid.
Yeah.
Like that just changes your whole business.
Isn't it interesting though? Because some clients will push back on that and they go, "Nah, it's always been 20th of the month. That's when people pay." But it's just challenge that thinking.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and even if you just put on the invoice 7 days, there'll be half of the people that would just pay on that date. You know,
Well,
and they won't
we
know
know
any different.
across Australasia, the average amount of days paid late is 14 days, right? So if you put 7th due following, people are going to pay on the 21st. So if you put the 20th, they're going to pay you on the 4th next month.
What a fucking wind up though, eh? It's like, hey mate, I need your services and I agree to what it cost me. You deliver this, you take the shit from them and then you just don't pay.
Yeah.
Like, how do people think
It's
that's
crazy.
okay and not embarrassing?
Yeah.
Like, I actually, like, I'm a bad admin person, but I will still pay my bill. Like, it might be fucking messy, but the bill will be paid.
Yes.
And in fact, like, I always, if someone gives me a bill, I'm like, can you just take a direct debit? Because it's easier for me. Like, make my life easier. And I think people in business go, oh, I'll never do a direct debit. Like, it's like, actually, you're trying to make your customer's life easier by just signing one thing and then you can do what you need to after that. Like,
Yeah.
So some
But it
industries are
drives me
doing it very well these days. Like, you know, a plumbing outfit, I won't name names, but I got something fixed at my home and they've got the facility, FBOS machine, for me to pay straight away.
Before
Before
he
he leaves.
Plumbers-
So I've paid.
They're
you
the
know,
best.
Which is,
in
which is
my
great.
experience, plumbers are the best. I don't know who's teaching them, but so, like every single plumber that's come, I'll get the bill just before they leave my house.
Yeah.
And I think it's exceptional. Like,
Yeah.
and to the point where I can just click a button and it's paid.
And it's paid.
I don't want to think about it after you left.
Yeah.
Like,
It's funny that you say that because even DD, so I love direct debit and DD. I love direct debit, but I don't like it when I get an invoice and then it's like, oh, hey, and then we're going to take your direct debit on like the fucking 27th of in 2 months. It's like,
can you just take it?
can you take it tomorrow?
Yeah.
You know?
Like,
Like,
so I can
thanks,
stop
sort
Sort of
thinking
plan
about
for
it.
my
Yeah,
cash
yeah.
flow, right? Yeah.
People make it hard for themselves, which
Yeah,
and
they
then,
do.
and then you go, oh, your dead days are out. It's like, people, you have no money because it's not in the bank. Your report says
There's too much noise in the world for people to leave a invoice or a payment reminder in their inbox for like 20 days.
Yeah, well, you quantify the money not in your bank right now, right? And if you have an overdraft, it's costing you 10%, right? It's traditionally lower and then higher sometimes in previous times. But it's like if you added all of that 10% up, it's actually costing you a lot. And if you want to talk about margin, well, guess where it's going?
Yes.
Like, you're losing it in the people that are not paying you on time. So you're better off not doing the work sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, people have got an overdraft now and they're probably paying, I don't know, what's the overdraft interest rate now? It's probably 14, 15%.
10 to 40%.
Yeah, so, you know, to your point, that's just, if people aren't paying you,
it's
you're
money for
going into
jam,
your
eh?
overdraft.
So cash conversion cycle is really important.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about there. So what is, other than cash conversion cycle, what is, I don't know, let's pick an industry, see how good we are. Let's pick an architect. Nah, that's too easy. Let's say a builder, right? we got a builder. What's something that a builder can do, like right now? If they came into our office and were like, my accountant shit, I've heard you guys are good. What's something we would tell them to either measure or change in the next 30 or 60 days to improve their business? What's something we can tell them to
Assuming
measure?
they're labor only,
Right.
you're hiring resources for a margin, right?
Yeah.
You could track your GP on your costs and also your GP on your materials as well, because you'll buy some timber and you charge it out at a margin. That's probably one immediate thing you would track.
Yeah. So you would ask the question like, what's your markup on materials?
Yeah,
or-
what's your markup? What's your average billable per your employee, the boys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good one actually.
I'll go.
Billings or revenue per person. What do we call that? Like revenue per FTE is what we technically call it.
Yeah, I mean, I think like that's really good. I think mine's quite simple, and I do this for most people. Is if you increase your revenue by 2%, you increase your margin by 1%, and you reduce your cost by 2%. Like, do you understand what the impact of that is? It's not 5%; it's actually more because your revenue goes up by 2%. You've done something to your costs, which is your employment or your stock or whatever.
Yes.
And then you chop some overheads that you don't need. The impact is straight to the bottom line. Like,
And it's,
You haven't
it's
done
so
a lot.
hard to teach people that 2 + 2 does not equal 4.
Yes.
yeah. And then hence why, hey, you need to do a budget because I need to apply that methodology into some sense and then show you what that value is.
Yes.
And it's not going to be small.
No.
Like, it's actually quite substantial.
Yes.
And I love that. It's like a real easy thing to do, right? So, yeah, that's kind of my...
Yeah, I think
Thank
builders are smart these days. They're actually good business operators. You know, historically, you probably think, a builder not smart, but the builders that I deal with these days are very smart. So
Why were they not smart?
I just don't because I think all they did was got a hammer and hammered a nail into a piece of wood. They honestly did. I'm not even joking. You know, and that's maybe I'm just taking the piss a little bit about that. But these days they're more business orientated. They're asking more questions of their accountants, and they're actually smart when it comes to finances.
They're becoming better business owners.
They're better at business. They're better at invoicing.
Capacity planning.
And I think part of the reason is the systems that they're using, because they never had the zeros back in the day, where you can have your online invoicing and send them out quickly. But they're also asking smart questions of their advisors as well, So I think, to your point, having that forecast in play so that you can measure some of those things for them and show them, they're smart enough to understand it now, which is great.
I love it when industries like that change.
There's a good change in that industry.
Yeah, because they traditionally were a time and cost model, right? That's why we make the joke, just swinging it. More hammer swings, you make the more money you make. It's not totally true anymore. So because now you have a health and safety cost, you have you could probably work that out per person. You got ACC costs, you got technology costs, you got all these extra costs. If you just measure it on every time I swing a hammer, I make 50 cents. It's not going to work.
I still like some of the old school metrics from the old builders. Like, they're just, here's my materials, 25% markup plus. It's
Fuck,
like
who's
on
your
the,
builder?
on,
Don't use that
the,
guy.
on the GSD, and then it's like labour, I just chuck another $20 on that guy.
Yeah.
And somehow they figure out the metrics.
And they still probably make money.
Fuck, they make heaps of money. Like,
But it's
like
based
if
on experience as well, right? Like,
and then the overheads are like lean,
Yeah.
and then they just apply that. Oh shit, wage cost going up. This guy's asked for $2 more. I better change it at the other end. So they're actually simple metrics that this guy understands. Didn't need an advisor like us. And now you got software. It's like, fuck, what the hell does all that thing mean?
I feel like that method's just way too much lag in it.
Yeah,
It's more
that's right.
experimental,
Yes.
right? Like
Yeah.
you try it, oh mate, I didn't make money last year, let's try something new this year. But with things like Fergus and Xero and all these cloud softwares, you can know within the week or last month how much money you've made. You don't have to wait till your bloody accountant gives you the tax return to figure
Well,
out how
again,
much
just
money.
going back to past and future,
Yeah.
if that's all you measured and just said, oh, if I added $2 to this person per hour, I'll make more money. Well, what if they got no work next month? And then you're not going to make any money? So you actually have to look forward and go, okay, they've got this many hours that they're capable of doing.
Yes.
Because swinging a hammer takes energy. And so maybe we should only let them do that 60% of the time, and then other 10% they have to do this, and 10% they have to do project manage or whatever. So they build roles, and then all of a sudden you're gone from hourly costing to value costing, and then looking at metrics to go, okay, they're efficient 90% of the time only, and we are okay with that.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be 100.
No. But that's the exciting thing about future focus, right? Because it's about the performance reporting. It's a little bit of tax planning. Those are the services that we offer to most of our clients. But to the builders and the plumbers and the electricians of this world, we're meeting on a more regular basis. It's every month or every couple of months, and we've got the forecast in play, and we're measuring back against that and showing where you're up and down on a regular basis. Where the builders and those tradies in the past, they probably didn't have those meetings, and they were just waiting for their provisional tax letter to come in the mail,
Well, they're notorious for measuring cash in bank. Waking up in the morning.
Not a bad thing to do.
It's not totally bad, but it's like, if
It doesn't give you a full picture.
No, it doesn't.
You might owe the RD 50
could be
grand,
tax.
but you have 7
That's
grand
right.
in there, but 20 grand's only yours. Right?
Yeah. So if you're not good with money, that's not a great metric.
Yeah, just conscious of getting a bit technical, but so or a bit nerdy. If I talk about sales, like metrics and sales, like I think it's quite like the thing that if someone said to me, "What should I do right now?" It's where should I put my metrics? I think it's easier to make money than it is to save money right now, because you're probably already tired as it is, and you're just getting this uplift for inflation, whatever the bullshit is going on. But if you focus on adding more sales and setting KPIs in that department, so like just looking at your revenue, what sort of KPIs would you set, or what would you tell a customer to do?
What would we tell them to increase revenue?
Like, how would you tell them to go and go, okay, you need this metric, or you need to increase your sales? Like, what would be a good one?
It's a good question.
Or you could increase your customer lifetime value.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Yeah, car conversion rate of your e-commerce. Like, I guess a lot of accountants get carried away with doing quantitative measures, right? Meaning like how much sales you do, how many percentage of your margin is. It's all numbers. But you got to look at your quantitative side as well. How complex is your website to convert sales? That numbers can't really tell you, but you got to look at it as a person.
Yeah.
See what sort of quality you come through. What's your NPS score? I think a lot of corporates do that very well, but small businesses not really.
No.
Sort of gut feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I guess how we're different at BetterCo is we do a lot of these conversations with our clients, not just on your financial, but on what's your purpose on the business, right? Are your employees happy?
Yeah.
Those sort of stuff. It's something that most accountants wouldn't touch on, really.
No. Yeah.
My go-to, to answer your question, my go-to on revenue is to break down where all that revenue comes from as much as we can without obviously going into too much detail.
Yeah.
But finding out which revenue lines make sense, and then finding if there are any that don't make money, and then get rid of those, or increase the pricing on those straight away, because sometimes they're actually necessary to do the overall job.
So does your customer come in and have sales 1 million, and then you go break down all those $1 million?
Yeah. Like we do. I just don't like it if they ever have one line.
Yeah,
we
the
break
revenue
it up.
streams, right?
Yeah.
The different streams.
Game changer.
I'm
by the
a
way, in terms
little
of valuation too.
obsessed with productizing.
Yeah.
So like, I don't care what industry you're in. I think you should have products. You should productize everything. Only then can you market and sell and make money from it. Because not everything, even if you're a builder, hospitality, not everything needs the same margin.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Like if you're selling,
And they
if you're-
typically don't.
and they typically don't. And like you say, you can't be a builder and whack on 25% on material. It's not going to make any money.
Yeah.
No one's going to buy off you because they can go down the road and get 5 and 10.
That's right.
Yeah.
So materials is not necessarily the place to make the money. So if we can break up the line, so revenue on materials, and then have a cost on materials,
Yeah.
we can see that GP really easy.
Yeah, I love that. So rework your chart of accounts so it actually makes some sense. Like your codes should be more than sales.
Your code should be more than
And
sales.
it could be 10 or 15 or 20 or
Yeah, I
Three
would
at a
say
minimum.
minimum 3 lines.
Yes.
But
agree with that.
try aim for like 10 to 15. If you're making $1 million plus, then 10 to 15.
Yeah, and I think it actually lifts the value of your company when you can actually show where the money's coming from. And then if you can roll that back a few years and go, oh, actually, okay, we're making $1 million out of X and $1 million out of X. And I mean, you see this a lot. We do evaluations for people selling their businesses, and that's all we change. And all of a sudden, the broker's like, fuck, the business is worth way more. It's like, yeah. Told you.
And I love the saying, what you can measure, you can manage.
Yeah.
So if you've got those revenue streams and you've got them listed there, as you said before, you can see which revenue stream is performing the best.
Yeah.
And if there's some that aren't performing at all, you can cut them.
Yeah.
You know, so you can see those visually very, very quickly if you've got that split out.
Yeah.
But also it's by department. So if you're in a location or you've got departments as well and you're measuring that, you can see if a department is functioning. It might be, you know, you've got retail stores across Auckland and one's not performing and you're measuring that. And so if you can see that and you see that it's not performing, you might choose to cut it. But unless you've got that data, you just don't know.
Yeah,
It's like a petrol station, right? You have your car wash, your dairy, essentially,
Yeah.
and your petrol, right? Your petrol might be doing very well because of thanks to the tax still coming in. But your car wash is leaking money. But if you don't split it out, you don't know what the actual cost is the GP on the car wash.
It's a good example.
You can't cut that real department.
It's a great example. So that's the first thing I do
I
all
love
the
that.
time.
That's good.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep, break it up as much as you can without killing the person in the office who's got to do all the input.
Yeah, but that's the kind of conversation we had earlier. It's like, what's the outcome? Why are we doing it? So you can't keep it high.
But I guess the outcome of most departments or sectional departments is you can give incentives to your team based on certain performance, right?
Yes.
So your car wash tripled in sales in this year. Oh, give my car wash manager a little pay rise or incentive around that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So just coming back to culture, well, we're talking about culture here, right? So if you have too many KPIs, your culture's probably going to be shit. But if you don't have enough, it's probably going to be headless.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's my assumption. But if we just talk about KPIs versus OKRs, we hear it nowadays. Oh, but KPIs are outdated, and then you got to be focusing on OKRs. Who wants to take the lead on what's the difference between a KPI and an OKR?
Pass. I can tell you what it stands for. I've got it written here in front of me. Objective Key Results is the OKR.
Yeah.
Does that sound like the reason? Well, the fact that you pass sounds to me like it's complex, right? It's made to be like complicated. So what KPI, OKR, like what I see a lot of is people just don't have anything. So just keep it bloody simple. Think about the 10 hats that you're wearing. Okay, cool. I'm a salesperson. I'm a marketing person. I have an operations team. Just measure a couple of things that mean something to you, and then you can actually be accountable to yourself to some extent, and actually has of meaning in the data. Like you can go on about OKR and KPI and ABC. Fuck, who cares what the letters stand for? But like, just have something, you know. Like I couldn't give a shit.
Yeah.
You're not in the corporate, you know. Where I mean, I get it. Like the concepts are all there, but I'm dumbing it down for my own sake and yours. But yeah, like if I can tell you something, as customer came to me, it's 10 hats, go find 3 in every department, and then just start there and build on those things that make sense, or the information you get out of it. Call it a KPI or ABC, whatever. Yeah, so I'm gonna give it your answer. What is the difference? I don't give a fuck.
I don't think it matters,
educating
right?
anyone on that either.
Yeah.
I think the key difference
Google
with culture and the people within your businesses are that there's going to be key metrics that are going to be different for your team, and there's going to be key metrics that are going to be different for you as a business owner. Yes. So as long as you know what those are and what your team are performing within your business, then I think whatever will go.
Yeah, and it depends the level of your team as well, right? If your MD and your GM and your frontline places, you know, they can't really. Let's say your goal is to grow your cafe to 3 venues a year. The team can't really control that because they're just doing coffees every day.
Yeah, you can't.
But the KPI will be to make a bloody good coffee or a nice swirl on your little cappuccino, right? But then your MD is the directional guy and more high level person to say, okay, we need more bank funding, we need more investors, we need to grow to 2 venues or expand our franchises or for coffee club.
I like that as a because we're talking about culture here, and that often I find like teams don't love metrics. But they want to know what sort of standard they're trying to achieve.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or like how to do a job, or what does excellence look like.
Yeah.
So rather than having metrics inside your team, it's probably better to have an expectation of standards in how we do things. And then it's easier for people to relate to.
Yeah.
Like you say, if you're making coffee and it needs to have a nice swirl in it or a picture every time, like make that the standard.
Yes.
Otherwise, some new manager is going to come in and be like, hey, can you lot stop doing pretty little designs in coffee because it takes you an extra 5 minutes per coffee? And then you go, oh, that just because the manager's got some KPI that it's got to be 3 minutes per coffee or something, you know?
Yeah.
So standards often not measurable.
Yeah.
It's just like a sight thing.
Yeah.
No, I think we're very good at BetterCo as well because we have our regular catch-ups
Fuck,
with
you're
our
blowing
team.
our trumpet today.
Just drink the Kool-Aid, mate.
It's probably because we just won an award. Did we win? Sorry. We was like, with our team.
You were at winning awards. We won awards.
Yeah. So we have regular catch-ups with our team and we have goal planning. And there can be some metrics that we set individually with each of our team members, which I think is great. So that's really specific to that person, which I think is excellent, because every 90 days we'll have a catch-up with the team member and we measure those metrics on a regular basis just to see how they're tracking.
Yeah, and just keep it simple. Like we use that tool now, where, how model, right? Where are you now?
Yeah.
Where are you trying to get to? And how are you going to get from A to B? And from how, it's like, look at, that's your goal. What sort of KPIs and measures you got to put in place, quantitative or qualitative, to get there. Yeah. Right. Just don't make it overcomplicated. Yeah. You want to run more. You want to run faster. Just say do more runs. Yeah. That's your KPI. Simple.
So that's NWH, that one.
You can overcomplicate things though. You really can. And business can be complex, but I think keeping it simple with you.
And I think when you overcomplicate, that's when culture goes down.
And just have fun. I'd say some people overcomplicate it. They go so wind it up on bloody percentages and margins. But you're still a team. We're still humans. Have some fun along the way.
How do you measure fun, mate?
Oh, I don't know. I don't
How
have
many
fun.
times people smile?
Accountants don't have fun, man.
How many smiles are in the room?
We go home and work on spreadsheets after work.
Yeah, I think you got to protect your culture though, right? And so, like, if you're going to measure KPIs, all good. But like we always say, we've said this in a couple of podcasts previous to this: is ask your team what they want to see and why they want to see it, so it doesn't scare the bloody shit out of them, and tell them why they need to see it.
I think that on that point is if you're going to give someone a performance metric or standard or whatever, you should be showing them the outcome or the result too.
Yes.
Yep.
So they can actually see it for themselves and go, oh, that's the work I put in this week and that was my KPI.
Yes.
And, oh, thanks for showing me that's where that bill I sent, what revenue line it's gone to.
Yes.
And now I can see how my value is brought to the overall company.
And aligning with the vision and purpose.
That's right, yeah. So people want to...
Especially the younger generations.
They want to see the result,
Z,
right?
So you're just showing revenue.
No, anything.
Or you're showing margin. Like
I'm just saying, if you're us saying like coffees, if your objective is to make 1,000 coffees a week, maybe we should actually show them. Okay, you made 900. You might have missed your target, but your 900 was actually better than everybody else. And as a company, we missed our 5,000 that we were supposed to hit, and we were at 4,000. So actually, you were the superstar this week. Good on you.
Yeah, right.
Like it still can.
But
be
what
a
did
good
you
thing.
do to the other? No.
Well, got the whip. No, I'm just. They could be individual conversations, but like you got to be careful. But all I'm saying is show the results, and I think that's where OKRs were kind of heading.
But leadership is when you
but leaders and managers, we got to have leeway. You can't just look at one metric and just slam someone. That's just not the right thing. It's like, for example for us is job write-offs. Client charges you, you charge a client $2,000. The person spent $4,000 worth of time. Yeah. But it's very complex. But the end result, the customer, he's bloody happy and he refers you another customer.
Yeah, correct.
That is all qualitative and not quantitative.
Yes.
If you look beyond that and be like, mate, this guy's actually a really good employee. He overcooks the time, that's fine, but he brings in more clients than we had.
Yeah.
You're on a podcast, mate. Don't tell too many people. Cooking the clock.
Just an example.
No, I get you. But I think it's that forward thinking, right? And go, if we do a good piece of work here, we'll get the next piece of work later.
Yeah.
And I agree to that.
Yeah, I mean, good managers to bring in all these information from different angles and put some weighting on it and be like, okay, this is the right thing to do going forward.
It's funny because like we're talking about business metrics, but like what I'm gathering here is that like we're just not those type of people to have too many metrics.
No.
I don't think small business owners are in general.
Imagine
you should have some.
Yeah, imagine you went to a client, right, and you had all of these percentages and metrics, and current ratios and all of this balance sheet. They'll just look at you sideways and go, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Just rip it up, throw it away. How are you feeling?
Start
there.
Then you start.
That's a good metric.
It's a great place to start.
Yeah. How do you feel about your business?
Yeah.
We've been doing those happiness surveys, right, at work, in the office, and some
Isn't it funny? An accountant will go straight in and be like, "Here's your metric, here's your GP." It's like, mate, how do you feel about the thing that you're telling me right now? Like, what does that number tell you and make you feel like? It'll tell you the whole bloody story, and then you might be able to set some things around it. So, That's a good point. That's empathy, eh?
Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, but I think we haven't really talked about benchmarking both in business and with our team members. We've touched on it a little bit, but I think benchmarking is really important
Massive.
in business. So you need to know where your peers are at, and you need to do better than them. So I think as far as metrics go, knowing where your competitors sit is important. It's not the be all and end all, but I think it's a good starting point for where you need to be better than.
That's a
You guys got
competition strength coming out there, mate. I actually give different advice, and yours not wrong. I don't like people comparing against others, like in general in life. And I'm like, how fucking hard can you work, and how much money do you want to make?
Yes.
And where can you squeeze it and be innovative? Like, it's your business. Do the fuck what you want with it.
Yeah.
Swearing a lot today. I'm passionate about this one. Yeah, like so, and then like I get it. Like we got benchmark data, and it's nice to compare and stuff. But it's I think it's a guideline to be like, just reassure you. Like that's what you're doing. You're not actually
Definitely.
going.
It is
I
just
wanna
a
be that guy.
guideline.
I think it's
Like
just
you
definitely a
reassurance.
guideline, keyword.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then you go.
Well, if
okay,
you just
cool.
bring it generally, I like the thinking on that because not everyone's the same, right? And if we think about two businesses exactly same, right? Let's just keep using builders. Two builders, both turning over, I don't know, because they've got lots of materials and a sizable team. They're turning over, say, 5 mil, right? But this guy's single, and this one's run by a very competent lady who's breaking through the industry as a woman in the industry and a leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she's got 2 kids as well, and she's a mum, and this person's single. Like, how the fuck are those two things even?
No,
Like,
they're
they are not,
So they're
right?
not.
They're not.
So if this person was delivering the same amount of revenue as this person and the profit was the same, I would say that this person here was doing a far superior job and should be far happier than that person.
Yes.
But who am I to say that as well, right? If they're both happy,
Yeah.
then they're happy. So you always got to come back and go, what is it that I'm trying to achieve as an individual
Yeah.
and personally? Business should be there to give you what you want in your personal life.
Yes.
It shouldn't
Yes.
get very carried away, and often business owners do get carried away with the competition
Yep.
Yes.
and metrics and, oh my God, that guy over there, his marketing on social media is amazing, or
Yeah.
our website can't even spell our own name right on our website or something. It's like, who cares, man?
So I think the modern day word for benchmark is just reassurance. Like that's how I see it. It's like just reassure
It is.
yourself that
Yes.
you're on the right track.
Yeah.
And then it's like set your own bloody benchmarks and your target about what life you want to create and live for yourself. But to your point, like this is how, the other part of what we do is financials often go to brokers, like selling agent brokers, and then they go and value a business. I actually spoke to a broker the other day. I was like, I want to buy that business. And my first question is, how happy is that business owner? And he was like, well, that's a weird question. I'm
It's
like,
a great question.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
a
awesome.
I only care about that person's happiness because I don't want to buy this business if they're unhappy.
Because then I'm going to be
It's
unhappy.
going to be all the problems are going to be down there. And if they're happy exiting, I know they've done a good job. Cool. I want to buy that business, prepared to pay more because that business is happy. And that
Yeah,
person's
that's
happy.
great.
My value is all of
that.
a sudden
Yeah.
way more.
Yeah.
Like,
Money's not
and I
everything. these
think
days.
Yeah.
brokers need to get, like, I've told that broker does. You need to get better about how you position your business. Like, EBIT, this and that. Like, mate, it's a small business. They don't understand
Yeah.
that term.
No.
They're going to send that shit to me, and I'm going to go ask the same question back. So why don't you just sort that out now? Like,
Yeah.
cover page, this is this person, this profile, blah, blah. I'm probably going down tangent. But that's a metric in itself, too.
Yes,
right?
it
Like,
is.
it's,
Oh, that's huge.
the
Yeah, I'll take that one away.
The value for that business is more because that person's created something that's,
Yep.
And I got the same thing right now, like KPMG are valuing one of my clients, and it's like, mate, you can't value it on that method. Like, you're mad. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, just, and so it's like, actually, we need to get in front of the person and tell them what actually is going on behind this particular business to show its true worth.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, don't undervalue yourself and don't compare yourself to anybody else. Would probably be that in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Interesting one, that one.
Yeah, it is.
Just conscious of time, we talked about a lot of stuff. I think in so far where we've got to is that it's important to have some sort of measurements and some sort of metrics, but don't overcook it.
Yep.
But also, if you are going to have a lot of metrics, just make sure that the culture is looked after. and that it's not negatively impacting your culture within your organisation. Because there's so many. I think that's the place where there's so many ways that it can go wrong, and we see it all the time. We've done it ourselves, in fact.
Yes.
Like, no one's perfect.
Yes.
Have a much bigger focus on your future metrics as opposed to your past, if you are going to have metrics.
Mm-hmm.
Past ones are good because they tell you what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But look at the future ones too. Keep it simple on your metrics. Who cares if it's KPIs or OKRs or ABCs and XYZs?
Keen to hear what other leaders are out there.
yeah.
Just do a rap battle
Who
out
cares?
of it.
Keep it simple. That's the easiest one. Keep it simple. There is a case to have different KPIs or metrics or OKRs or ABCs for different people in an organisation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important, and then giving those people the results, and you don't have to share all of those results with everyone, but if you do want to share that with everyone, maybe you should check with everyone. But ultimately, I think it's you as the business owner that should make that decision. If your team don't want to see it, and you want everyone to see it, well, fuck it, it's your decision, it's your business.
That's right.
And then I think the best metric that we ended up talking about was happiness. So you only get one life.
Yep.
There's no point living an unhappy life. So if your happiness is 0 out of 10, that's the best metric to start with.
Yeah.
Try to get that back up to 10 and live a happy life.
Yeah, 100%.
Bit of balance, eh?
Love it.
Yeah. Any closing arguments?
No, I reckon that's the number one metric.
For sure.
Yeah.
Happiness. Let's go be happy.
Let's do it.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.